It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when I found out the truth. The kind of rain that taps on your window like it's trying to warn you. I was folding laundry in our bedroom, his cologne still clinging faintly to his shirts, when I saw it. A message. A single message that would change everything. Miss you already, winking face. It wasn't from me. I'm Amina, 32 years old. A marketing executive, wife of 7 years, and, until that moment, completely, foolishly in love with my husband Rayyan. He's 35, charismatic, soft-spoken, and the kind of man who remembered my coffee order better than I did. Or at least he used to. Rayyan and I were the kind of couple people called perfect. We shared inside jokes, binge-watched crime thrillers, and danced barefoot in our kitchen at midnight. So when I saw that message on his phone, I thought maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was spam. But deep down I knew. And then her name appeared. Sana. My best friend since college. The one who held my hand when I cried after my mother died. The one I had trusted with every piece of my life. That night, I didn't say anything. I watched him sleep, wondering how long it had been going on. Wondering if he looked at her the way he used to look at me. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to disappear. But I didn't. Because deep down, something told me this wasn't over. This wasn't the end of our story. The next few days passed in a blur. I kept up appearances, smiling, nodding, pretending I didn't see the way Rayyan's phone was always face down now. But I was watching. Quietly. Closely. And the more I watched, the more I realized. He wasn't happy. Not truly. There were pauses in his words, guilt in his eyes, moments where he looked at me like he wanted to say something, but didn't. And maybe, just maybe, that meant there was still something left between us. Sana, on the other hand, had started dropping little hints. Comments that didn't quite sit right. Laughing too loudly at his jokes. Touching his arm just a second too long. I knew I had to act. But not with anger. Not with revenge. I wanted the truth. I wanted him, the real him, back. Because if love could be stolen, it wasn't real to begin with. And if it was real, it would come back. But I had no idea what karma had in store for all three of us. Not yet. I met Rayyan when I was 24. Young, driven, and freshly hired as a junior designer at a marketing firm. He was already a team lead, respected and confident, but never arrogant. He noticed the smallest things, how I double-checked every slide before a client meeting, how I tapped my pen when I was nervous. It started with coffee runs, turned into late-night project calls, and before long, we were inseparable. It wasn't fast, it was real. The kind of love that builds slowly and stays rooted. And Sana? She was already in my life before him. We were roommates in university, best friends through heartbreaks and homesickness. She stood by me through career switches and family drama. She was there the night I told her I might be falling for Rayyan. She cheered the loudest at our wedding. She cried when I walked down the aisle. So how did it come to this? After finding that message, something in me shifted. Not just pain but doubt. Had I been blind? Or was I losing something that could still be saved? That week, I started noticing the invisible lines drawn between us. Rayyan's goodnight kisses had become quick, almost hesitant. He stopped asking about my day. He laughed less. But he also stared at me longer when he thought I wasn't looking. And then there was that Sunday lunch. Sana had come over, smiling like nothing had happened. She brought her famous biryani, complimented my dress, and called Rayyan bhai, a word that now sounded more mocking than respectful. I watched her closely. The way she leaned just slightly toward him. The way she offered to refill his glass before I could. It was subtle, but real. Rayyan, for his part, seemed conflicted. He didn't encourage her, but he didn't stop her either. He looked tired. Not just physically but emotionally. Like someone fighting something inside he hadn't named yet. That night, after she left, I confronted him. Not with accusations but with honesty. Are you in love with her? I asked, keeping my voice steady. He looked at me for a long time before speaking. I don't know what I'm feeling anymore, Amina. His voice cracked when he said my name. It wasn't hate I saw in his eyes. It was confusion, regret, and maybe love that hadn't died yet. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just nodded and walked away. Because sometimes silence says more than screaming ever could. I slept in the guest room that night. And as I lay there staring at the ceiling, I realized something. This wasn't just a fight for my marriage. It was a battle for my worth. And karma? She had just begun sharpening her claws. A week passed since our quiet confrontation. Rayyan hadn't slept in our room since then, and neither had I returned to his. We shared the same roof, exchanged brief words, and functioned like distant strangers, playing the role of a couple in a home that no longer felt like ours. But things were not as quiet as they seemed. I started noticing small, calculated moves from Sana. Text messages asking about Rayyan's well-being, casual check-ins under the guise of concern for me, and even offering to drop off homemade food. I never responded. But she wasn't messaging me anymore. She was messaging him directly. And what disturbed me more than the messages was the fact that Rayyan wasn't shutting them down. He wasn't inviting her in, but he wasn't pushing her out either. That limbo was tearing me apart. Then something shifted. I bumped into Farah, our mutual friend and one of the few people who knew both me and Sana well. She hesitated before speaking, then finally said, "Amina, I don't know how to tell you this, but Sana's been talking. She's telling people that your marriage is over. That Rayyan was never truly happy with you." I felt something sink deep inside me. Embarrassment, betrayal, rage. It was one thing to betray someone behind closed doors, but to publicly rewrite the story of our love? That was war. Rayyan came home late that night and I didn't wait. "She's telling people we're done," I said, standing in the kitchen with my arms crossed. He blinked. "What?" "Sana. She's not hiding anymore. She's telling our friends you were never happy with me. Is that true, Rayyan? Is that what you're letting her say while you stay silent?" "I never said that," he said, his voice rising. "I never told her we were over. I never even told her He stopped himself. "Told her what?" I stepped closer. "That you love her?" He looked straight at me. "That I don't." That stunned me. "I'm confused, Amina," he continued softer now. "But I'm not in love with her. I don't know how this even happened. We grew distant. I felt lost. And she was there. But I swear it was never about love. It was weakness, not desire." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. Because hearing that didn't erase the hurt. But it gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks. Clarity. This wasn't just about another woman. It was about us, our cracks, our silences, and how we'd let distance creep in without even realizing. Sana was the symptom, not the cause. But now, with her actively trying to destroy what was left of my marriage, things had changed. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was a challenge. And I wasn't going to let her win. 2 days after our confrontation in the kitchen, everything changed. I had begun to sense that Rayyan was pulling away, not from me but from her. He became quieter, more present. He started asking me how I was sleeping, noticing when I didn't eat. It wasn't enough to heal us, but it was a shift. And Sana noticed. That's when she struck back. It was a Friday afternoon when my phone buzzed with an email titled, "Thought you should know." Attached was a screenshot of a conversation. Rayyan and Sana. No context. Just her name saved in his phone as S. Cherry Blossom, and a series of flirtatious replies that seemed recent. I felt my chest tighten, that old sting rising again. But something didn't sit right. The tone, the timing, it felt off. I forwarded it to Rayyan without a word. 10 minutes later, he was home. He looked shaken. "Amina, I didn't send those. I haven't spoken to her in days. Only one message telling her to leave us alone." "Then what is this?" I held the phone up. "She's manipulating it," he said. "She's trying to destroy everything now that she knows I've chosen you. Chosen me." Those words should have felt like a victory. But in that moment, all I felt was pressure building in my chest. She wasn't backing off, she was escalating. And then the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Rayyan and I both froze. I walked to the door slowly, heart thudding. And when I opened it, I saw her. Sana. Standing there in full makeup and fake concern, holding a small box of sweets. "I heard Rayyan wasn't feeling well," she said sweetly, eyes darting past me into the house. "I brought something." I didn't move. Behind me, Rayyan stepped forward, finally standing beside me. "You shouldn't have come," he said firmly. "Please leave." She blinked, her smile faltering for the first time. You're serious? He nodded. This is over, Sana. Whatever I let happen, it was a mistake. A shameful one. But I love Amina. And I'm not going to let you twist this any further. Sana's expression darkened. You think this is over just because you want it to be? She hissed, dropping the box on the porch. You'll regret humiliating me like this. She turned and walked away without another word. I closed the door slowly, heart pounding. For the first time, Rayan and I stood together on the same side. But it didn't feel like the end. It felt like the beginning of a storm. Because now Sana wasn't just the woman who crossed a line. She was the woman who had nothing left to lose. And those are the most dangerous kind. I thought that was the end of it. After Rayan stood beside me at the door, after Sana stormed off humiliated, I believed we had turned a corner. That karma had delivered its first blow, and we could finally begin to heal. We even really talked for the first time in weeks. About the distance, the confusion, the loneliness that neither of us had dared admit aloud. I thought the worst was behind us. I was wrong. It started the next morning. My boss called me into a meeting. His tone was stiff, formal. As soon as I entered, I knew something was wrong. We've received a complaint, he said. A serious one. Confused, I leaned forward. A complaint. He nodded and slid a document across the table. It was a printed email. Anonymous but vicious. Accusations of professional misconduct. Claims that I had leaked confidential client information. That I had threatened a coworker. That I was unstable. None of it was true. My stomach dropped. Of course I don't believe this, he added quickly. But until we investigate, we'll need to suspend you temporarily. I'm sorry. I left the office in a daze. The timing, the tone, the malicious detail. There was only one person twisted enough and angry enough to try and destroy me like this. Sana. This wasn't just personal anymore. She was trying to burn everything I had. My marriage. My reputation. My career. When I got home, Rayan saw it in my face before I even said a word. I handed him the letter, and he read it in silence. She won't stop, I said, my voice trembling. She's not done with us. He sat down heavily, running his hand through his hair. She knows things. About the firm. About us. I told her things, Amina. In confidence. Stupid things. She's weaponizing it all. I could barely breathe. So what do we do? Then for the first time he looked me in the eye, not as the man who had betrayed me, but as someone ready to fight beside me. We end this. Properly. That night Rayan called her. I sat beside him as he put the phone on speaker. Sana, he said firmly, we know what you did. I don't care what you try to do to me. But Amina, she doesn't deserve this. You crossed a line. You come near her again, professionally or personally, and we'll go to the police. There was a pause. Then Sana's voice, cool and sharp. You think you're untouchable now? Rayan, you weren't some helpless victim. Don't forget what you told me when your wife was too busy to even notice you. I wasn't the only one who crossed a line. She hung up. I turned to Rayan slowly, my chest tightening. What did she mean by that? His silence said everything. And just like that, the floor beneath me cracked open again. I couldn't breathe. Sana's words rang in my ears, words that confirmed something I had feared deep down but hadn't dared believe. That this wasn't just a fleeting mistake. Rayan hadn't just drifted into confusion. He had confided in her, trusted her with intimate parts of our life. And now she was using it all to tear us apart. I stared at him. Tell me the truth. All of it. No more protecting me. No more protecting yourself. Rayan looked up at me, his face pale. I told her things I shouldn't have, he admitted. I was angry. Lonely. You were always working. Always tired. I felt invisible. And she listened. I swallowed hard. Did you love her? His silence lasted too long. I thought I might, he said finally, barely a whisper. But it was never real. I see that now. I turned away, the weight of everything threatening to crush me. The job. The lies. The emotional affair that had gone far deeper than I realized. But there was no running anymore. No pretending. So I asked myself a question I'd been avoiding since this all began. Did I still love him? And the answer came like a wave, fierce and painful. Yes, I did. But love alone wasn't enough anymore. I need space, I said, voice trembling. You hurt me, Ryan. Not just with her, but by turning away from me when you could have reached out. I don't know what we're supposed to be now. He nodded, eyes full of regret. I understand. But I'm not going to stop trying to earn your trust back. Even if it takes the rest of my life. It should have felt like closure. But instead it felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, terrified of what came next. The next morning, I went to the office to clear my name. With a lawyer and digital proof on my side, we traced the false report back to an anonymous email account linked to Sanaa. The HR department took immediate action. I wasn't just cleared, I was reinstated, and she was blacklisted from all affiliated firms. It was a small victory, but it didn't mend my heart. Weeks passed. Ryan moved into the guest room. We barely spoke except for the basics. But something strange happened in the silence. We both started rebuilding. He went to therapy. I went back to journaling, to prayer, to rediscovering myself outside of this mess. The love hadn't died, but it had been buried. We had both helped bury it. And then one quiet evening, as I passed him in the hallway, he reached for my hand. I know I don't deserve another chance, he whispered. But I'll wait, Amina. As long as it takes. I looked at him, tears in my eyes. For the first time in a long time. I didn't look away. Ryan and I didn't fix everything overnight. After that quiet moment in the hallway where he reached for my hand, we didn't fall into each other's arms. Instead, we chose something harder and more honest. We talked. We cried. We fought sometimes too, but this time we fought together, not against each other. Ryan started therapy consistently, not just for us but for himself. I could see the change in him. He didn't try to defend what he had done anymore. He just took responsibility. Every day. And I worked on letting go, not forgetting but forgiving. I started yoga, took weekend walks alone. Reconnected with friends I drifted from. I learned how to take up space again. How to be more than a wife, more than a wronged woman. I was Amina again. As for Sanaa, she never contacted us again after her email sabotage was exposed. She lost her professional standing in our circle. And though I won't pretend that brought me joy, it did bring closure. Karma didn't need me to act. It handled her on its own terms. 6 months passed before Ryan and I sat down at the kitchen table and had the conversation we had been avoiding. Do we still want this marriage? I asked. He looked at me, eyes steady. Yes. But only if you do. I nodded slowly. Ido. But we're starting fresh. From the ground up. No more pretending. No more silence. So we renewed our vows. Just us, quietly in our backyard with fairy lights and a single bouquet. No crowd.
No fanfare.
Just truth. Just love. Love that had been broken, tested, and somehow survived. And here's what I've learned. Betrayal can break you, but healing can rebuild you. Stronger, wiser, and more aware of what you truly deserve. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing peace over punishment. And real love, it's not perfect. It's work. Daily, humble, sometimes painful but beautiful work. Ryan and I aren't the same people we were when Sanaa entered our lives. We're better. Not because of what happened but in spite of it.